Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair and looked at the screens around him. The control room was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers. He had been working at Deep Space Station, Omega-7, for 3 years now. Every day was the same. Watch the screens. Listen for signals. Wait for something that never came. The station floated in space, far from Earth. It was humanity's best hope for finding other life in the universe. Jake and his team searched the stars every day, but they had never found anything. Just empty. Space and dead silence. Dr. Lisa Carter ran into the control room. Her face was red, and she was breathing hard. She held a tablet in her shaking hands. Jake had never seen her so excited. "Commander Morrison, you need to see this right now," Lisa said. Her voice was loud and quick. "We got something. A real signal from space." Jake stood up fast. His heart began to beat faster. "Are you sure? Not just noise from a star or satellite?" Lisa shook her head. "No, sir. This is different. It has patterns. Math. Someone made this signal and sent it to us." She showed Jake her tablet. The screen was full of numbers and symbols. To most people, it would look like random marks. But Jake could see what Lisa meant. The patterns were too perfect to be natural. "It started 3 hours ago," Lisa explained. "The signal is weak but clear. It uses basic math that any smart species would know. Prime numbers, physics rules, simple stuff like that." Jake looked closer at the data. "What does it say?" Lisa took a deep breath. "It's asking for help. The message keeps repeating the same thing over and over. Under attack. Need help." Then it gives coordinates to a star system. The room suddenly felt very cold. Jake realized what this meant. Somewhere in space, another thinking species was in trouble. They were calling out to anyone who could hear. Them, and humans were the ones who answered. "How far away?" Jake asked. 47 light years. "The Kepler 442 system," Lisa said. "We have ships that can get there with our new engines." Jake pressed a button on his desk. A screen lit up with the face of General Ron Phillips back on Earth. The general looked tired. It was late at night where he was. "General, we have a situation." Jake said, "We just received our first alien signal, and it's a distress call." General Phillips sat up straight. His tired look disappeared. "Are you certain, Commander?" "Yes, sir. Dr. Carter has confirmed it. Someone out there is asking for help." The general was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see him thinking hard about what this meant. "Send me everything you have," Phillips finally said. "I'm calling an emergency meeting right now." Over the next 6 hours, Jake and his team worked to learn more about the signal. They found other transmissions in the same area of space. These signals were different. They were not asking for help. They were talking to each other. Lisa worked with the computers to translate these new signals. What she found made everyone afraid. "Commander, I think I know what's happening out there," she said. "There are 2 different groups. The ones asking for help call themselves the Kethaneni. They seem peaceful. The other group calls themselves the Vorth Hegemony." "What are the Vorth doing?" Jake asked. Lisa looked scared. "From what I can understand, they are attacking the Kethani, destroying their ships and planets. The Kethani have no real military. They're just traders and artists." But the most shocking discovery came when Lisa found transmissions about Earth itself. "Commander, you're not going to believe this," she said. "In their communications, Earth has a classification. They call it a Class 12 Death World." "Death World?" Jake asked. "From what I can figure out, most planets where life grows are safe and easy to live on. But Earth is different. The gravity is too strong. The weather is too violent. The animals are too dangerous. Most alien species think Earth would kill them in hours." Jake looked around the control room. Everything seemed normal to him. The air, the gravity, the temperature. This was just home. What does that make us? He asked. Lisa smiled for the first time all day. It makes us apex predators from the most dangerous planet they know about. They probably think we're monsters. A new transmission came from General Phillips. His face appeared on the main screen, but now he was not alone. Behind him stood other military leaders and government officials. Commander Morrison, we've made our decision, the general said. We're going to answer their call for help. We're sending a fleet to the Cathani system. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Sir, we don't know anything about these Vorth. They might be much stronger than us. General Phillips nodded. Maybe they are, Commander. But we can't just listen to people calling for help and do nothing. It goes against everything we believe in. Another official stepped forward. We've been alone in the universe for so long. Now we find out there are others out there, and someone is trying to destroy them. We have to act. How long until the fleet is ready? Jake asked. 3 days, Philip said. Captain Hellenberg will command the mission. 12 of our best. Ships with our newest weapons and fastest engines. Lisa was reading more transmissions. Commander, there's something else. The Vorth have been doing this for a long time. Hundreds of years. They attack peaceful species and make them slaves or kill them all. No one has ever stopped them. Well? Jake said, looking at the stars outside the station windows. They've never met humans before. General Phillips heard this through the communication link. That's exactly right, Commander. They've been bullying people who can't fight back. But Earth isn't a peaceful garden world. We grew up fighting to survive every day. Jake thought about human history. All the wars, all the struggles, all the times humans had to fight just to live another day. Maybe being from a death world was not such a bad thing after all. The fleet launches in 72 hours, Philip said. Commander Morrison, your station will coordinate communications with the Cathani until our ships arrive. As the transmission ended, Jake looked at his team. They were all excited and scared at the same time. Humanity was about to meet their first aliens. And it was going to be in Battledot. Lisa was still working at her computer. Commander, I'm getting more signals from the Cathani. They're still calling for help. They don't know anyone is coming. Jake sat back down in his chair. Well, Dr. Carter, I guess it's time to make first contact. Send them a message. Tell them help is on the way. Outside the station, the stars looked the same as always. But everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone. And somewhere out there, people needed help. The Deathworlders were coming. Captain Helen Burke stood on the bridge of the Unzalkiri and watched space bend around her ship. The stars looked like long white lines as the fleet traveled faster than light toward the Cathani system. It would take 3 weeks to get there, but Helen knew every minute counted. Behind her ship, 11 other vessels followed in perfect formation. These were humanity's finest warships, built with the best technology Earth could make. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. But Helen hoped they would not need to use them all. Captain, we're getting more signals from the battle zone, said Lieutenant Amy Brooks from her station. The fighting is still going on. Helen walked over to look at Amy's screen. The display showed radio signals coming from the Cathani system. Most were distress calls. Some were death screams. How many Cathani are left? Helen asked. Hard to tell, ma'am. But the signals are getting weaker every day. I think the Vorth are winning. Helen felt anger rise in her chest. Somewhere ahead of them, innocent people were dying while their fleet crawled through space. But there was nothing she could do to make the ship go faster. Dr. Alex Turner approached the captain's chair. He was the ship's science officer and the smartest person Helen had ever met. He carried a tablet full of information about their enemies. Captain, I've been studying everything we know about both species, Alex said. The differences are remarkable. Tell me about the Kethani first. Helen said. Alex touched his tablet and pictures appeared on the main screen. The Kethani looked like tall, thin deer that walked on two legs. They had large eyes and gentle faces. Their hands had long, delicate fingers perfect for making art or building machines. They evolved from plant-eating animals, Alex explained. Their whole culture is built around peace, trade, and creating beautiful things. They don't understand war because they never had to fight to survive. Helen studied the images. The Kethani cities looked like giant gardens with buildings that curved like flowers reaching for the sun. Everything was designed to be beautiful and peaceful. What about their military? She asked. They barely have one, Alex said. Just some. Patrol ships to protect trade routes from pirates. Their weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. The idea of killing someone is horrible to them. Helen shook her head. These people were like children in a universe full of wolves. Now show me the Vorth, she said. The screen changed to show very different creatures. The Vorth looked like giant lizards that stood upright. They had thick armored skin and sharp teeth. Their eyes were small and mean. Their hands ended in claws that could tear metal. They're from a high-gravity world with lots of dangerous predators, Alex continued. They had to fight every day just to stay alive. But they became the top hunters on their planet and eventually built ships to hunt among the stars. How long? Have they been conquering other species? Helen asked. About 600 years. They have a simple pattern. Find a peaceful species, demand they surrender, then make them slaves or kill them all. It's worked every time because no one fights back. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Rodriguez joined them on the bridge. He was in charge of the Marines, who would board enemy ships if needed. Sam was a big man with scars on his hands from many battles. Captain, I've been studying Vorth battle tactics, Sam said. They fight like bullies, all intimidation and brute force. They're used to enemies that run away when they see them coming. What's their biggest weakness? Helen asked. Sam smiled. It was not a nice smile. They've never fought anyone who hits back harder than they do. They don't know what to do when someone refuses to be scared. The weeks passed slowly as the fleet traveled through hyperspace. Every day brought new information about the battle ahead. Dr. Lisa Carter, who had discovered the original signal, was now aboard the Valkyrie, working to establish communication with the Kethani. Captain, I've made contact, Lisa announced one morning. There's a Kethani leader named Commander Thelian. He's coordinating the defense of their homeworld. Put him on screen, Helen ordered. The main display showed a Kethani in what looked like a military uniform. But even his uniform was decorated with artistic patterns. His large eyes were full of sadness and fear. Greetings, unknown beings, Thelian said in heavily accented English. We received your message saying help was coming. Are you truly real, or are we dreaming in our final hours? Helen stepped forward. Commander Thelian, I am Captain Helen Burke of the human fleet. We are real, and we are coming to help you. Thelian's eyes grew even larger. Humans? From the Deathworld Earth? But the stories say your planet would kill us instantly. The stories are probably true, Helen said. But that just means we're very hard to kill ourselves. How many ships do the Vorth have in your system? 47 warships, Thelian replied, each one larger than our biggest vessels. They destroyed our orbital defenses in the first hour. Now they are bombarding our colonies and hunting our civilian ships. FOR sport. Helen felt her anger grow stronger. Hunting civilians for sport was something only monsters would do. How long can you hold out? She asked. Perhaps 5 more days, Thelian said. But Captain Burke, you must understand. The Vorth Empire has thousands of ships. Even if you defeat this fleet, they will send more. They will never stop until we are all dead. Let us worry about that, Helen said. You just need to survive until we get there. After the communication ended, Helen called her senior officers to a meeting. Around the table sat the best military. Minds humanity had to offer. The situation is worse than we thought, Helen began. 47 enemy ships against our 12. They have us outnumbered 4-1. But they're not expecting us, said Commander Rick Davis, her tactical officer. Surprise might even the odds. What's our battle plan? Asked Sam Rodriguez. Helen looked around the table at her officers. These were people who had spent their lives learning how to fight and win against impossible odds. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day, and they had survived to reach the stars. We hit them fast and hard before they know we're there, Helen said. No warnings, no negotiations. These Vorth have been murdering innocent people for 600 years. Today that ends. Ma'am, said Amy Brooks, what if they try to surrender? Helen thought about the images of burning Kethani cities and civilian ships being hunted for sport. They can surrender to the Kethani they've been killing, she said. We're not here to take prisoners. We're here to end a threat. Dr. Turner spoke. Up. Captain, there's something else. I've been analyzing Vorth communications. They're already talking about Earth. Word has spread that Deathworlders are coming. Some of their ships are requesting permission to withdraw. Good, Helen said. Fear is a weapon, too. Let them be afraid. The meeting ended, and everyone returned to their duties. Helen stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars streak past. In 2 days, they would drop out of hyperspace and face an enemy that had never known defeat. But the Vorth had never fought humans before. They had never faced beings who were born on a world that made them into perfect predators. They were about to learn why Earth was called a death world, and why that made humans the most dangerous allies the galaxy had ever seen. The Un's Valkyrie dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kethani system. Captain Helen Burke watched her screen as space returned to normal around them. What she saw made her blood boil with rage. Vorth warships hung in space like giant metal sharks. They were shooting at anything that moved. Burning Kethani ships drifted between the planets like broken toys. On the surface of Kethani Prime, cities were on fire. The beautiful garden world was being turned into a wasteland. My God, whispered Dr. Alex Turner from his station. They're not just winning the battle. They're enjoying it. Helen could see. Vorth fighters chasing single civilian ships. The aliens were hunting families trying to escape. When they caught them, the Vorth ships did not kill quickly. They took their time, making the deaths last longer. Captain, I'm reading 47. Enemy vessels, reported Commander Rick Davis. Mostly heavy cruisers and battleships. They have us outgunned by a huge margin. Helen studied the tactical display. The Vorth ships were spread out across the system, taking turns to attack different targets. They were so confident that they were not even staying together for protection. Their formation is sloppy, she noted. They're acting like they're on a hunting trip instead of fighting a war. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Rodriguez appeared on the bridge wearing his combat armor. Captain, my Marines are ready for boarding actions. Just get us close enough to their ships. You'll get your chance, Sam, Helen promised. Amy, open a channel. To all ships in the system. Lieutenant Amy Brooks worked at her console. Channel open, ma'am. Everyone can hear us now. Helen took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first words to an alien military force. She wanted them to count. Vorth vessels, this is Captain Helen Burke of the United Nations ship Valkyrie. You are ordered to stop your attack and leave this system immediately. A Vorth response came quickly. A harsh, growling voice filled the bridge. Unknown species? You dare to threaten the Vorth hegemony? We are the masters of this galaxy. Surrender now, and we may let you live as our slaves." Helen smiled coldly. "Unknown species? Let me introduce you to humanity. We're the ones from the death world you've been hearing whispers about. And you just made the biggest mistake of your lives." She cut the channel and turned to her crew. "All ships, attack formation. Target their command vessels first. Show them what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of humans." The human fleet moved forward like a pack of wolves. The Valkyrie led the charge, her weapons already charging for battle. Behind her, 11 other ships spread out to surround the surprised Vorth forces. Commander Pete Jackson led the first fighter. Squadron off the flight deck. He had been flying combat missions since he was 18 years old. In space or in atmosphere, there was no better pilot in the human fleet. "Falcon Squadron, this is Falcon Leader," Pete said into his radio. "Remember what we learned about these lizards. They're strong but slow. They think like bullies, not soldiers. Let's teach them the difference." The Vorth fighters moved to meet them. They were bigger than human ships and had more armor. But Pete could see immediately that they flew like they expected their enemies to run away. "All units, pattern Delta," Pete ordered. "Make them chase us toward the minefield." The human fighters scattered in different directions. The confused Vorth pilots tried to follow all of them at once. They broke their formation and spread out, exactly as Pete had hoped. When the Vorth ships reached the predetermined coordinates, Pete gave the order. Now, hidden human ships activated their weapons. Missiles and energy beams came from all directions. The Vorth fighters found themselves in a carefully planned trap. Half of them were destroyed before they understood what had happened. Meanwhile, the capital ship battle was showing the Vorth something they had never seen before. Human ships did not fight like other species. They did not try to match firepower with firepower. Instead, they used speed, tricks, and weapons the Vorth had never imagined. The Valkyrie fired a spread of kinetic missiles at the Vorth flagship. Each missile was just a piece of metal, moving very fast. But when they hit the enemy ship at a significant fraction of light speed, they punched through the alien armor like it was paper. "Direct hit on their command section," reported Rick Davis. "Their shields are down, and they're venting atmosphere." But the real shock came when the boarding actions began. Sam Rodriguez and his Marines used small, fast ships to get close to damaged Vorth vessels. When they cut through the hulls and entered the enemy ships, the Vorth defenders got their first look at what apex predators really meant. The Vorth were bigger and stronger than humans. On their own ships, in their own environment, they should have had every advantage. But they had never fought enemies who adapted as quickly as humans did. Sam's Marines studied the alien ship layouts as they moved through them. They figured out how Vorth technology worked by watching it for a few minutes. When their human weapons ran out of ammunition, they picked up Vorth guns and used them better than the aliens did. "These lizards fight like they're in a parade," Sam reported over the radio. "All show and no tactical thinking. They've never had to fight for their lives." But the most terrifying thing for the Vorth was how humans fought when they were outnumbered. Instead of becoming desperate, they became more dangerous. They used the ship's own systems against the defenders. They turned off lights and fought in darkness, where human night vision gave them an advantage. They used maintenance shafts and air ducts to appear where the Vorth did not expect them. On the Vorth flagship, Admiral Gorthtan watched his forces being systematically destroyed by a smaller enemy fleet. Nothing in his 600 years of experience had prepared him for this. "How are they doing this?" he roared at his tactical officer. "We outnumber them. We have bigger ships, better weapons." "Sir, they fight like they were born in battle," the officer replied. "Their ships take damage that should destroy them and keep fighting." Their soldiers adapt to our ship layouts faster than our own crews. Do. And their tactics ... What about their tactics? They're not using standard formation fighting, sir. They're hunting us. Like we hunt others, but they're better at it. Admiral Gorthtan felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Real, cold fear that made his blood turn to ice. Dr. Lisa Carter, monitoring all communications from the Valkyrie, realized she was listening to history being made. The Kethani were broadcasting everything to their remaining colonies. For the first time in galactic history, someone was not just resisting the Vorth. Someone was winning. Captain Burke, she called out. The Kethani sending messages to other species throughout the galaxy. They're telling everyone that the Deathworlders are here, and they're protecting people. Helen nodded as she watched another Vorth ship explode on her screen. Good. Let the whole galaxy know. The age of Vorth bullying is over. The battle lasted only 3 hours. When it ended, 44 Vorth ships had been destroyed or captured. Only 3 managed to escape into hyperspace, running home to tell their empire what they had faced. As the last Vorth ship fled, Helen opened communications to the Kethani homeworld. Commander Thelyan, this is Captain Burke. The Vorth fleet has been destroyed. Your people are safe. Thelyan's voice was full of wonder and disbelief. Captain Burke, what you have done today will be remembered forever. You have given us our lives back. Helen looked at the stars around them. Somewhere out there, the Vorth Empire was learning that they were no longer the strongest predators in the galaxy. Commander Thelyan, the real work starts now. We need to make sure this never happens to anyone else. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. On hundreds of worlds, billions of beings watched the same impossible footage over and over again. The Vorth hegemony, undefeated for 6 centuries, had been crushed in 3 hours by an unknown species from a death world. Ambassador Nara Vex-High of the Xanthari Republic stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. Around her, representatives from 200 species watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. The massive screens showed human fighters moving through space like they had been born among the stars. They showed human Marines adapting to alien technology in minutes and using it better than its creators. This is impossible, whispered the Thylorian delegate. No species fights like this. No one adapts this quickly. Nara had been studying the humans since the first reports arrived. Her people were scientists and philosophers, known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom. But even she struggled to understand what she was seeing. Look at their ship designs, she said to the other delegates. Every system has backups. Every weapon has multiple ways to fire it. They build everything expecting it to be damaged and keep working anyway. On the screen, the human ship Valkyrie took a direct hit that should have destroyed it. Instead, the crew rerouted power through emergency systems and kept fighting. The ship's armor was designed to absorb impacts that would crack most hulls in half. They build their ships like they expect to fight in hell, observed the Corran ambassador, because that's exactly where they come from. The footage showed human Marines moving through Vorth ships with terrifying efficiency. They studied alien controls for seconds and then used them perfectly. They fought in the dark, in zero gravity, in environments that would confuse most species for hours. And they did it all while outnumbered 3 to 1. I have studied every major military force in the galaxy, said General Vex Vaughn of the Hegemony Defense Corps. Nothing in our databases explains this level of tactical flexibility. They fight like every battle is their last. Nara nodded, because for them, it always was. Read the reports about their homeworld. Earth tried to kill them every single day. For millions of years. Weather that could destroy cities. Animals that hunted in packs. plants that were poisonous to touch. They learned to adapt or die. Meanwhile, on Kethani Prime, Major Linda Harper was learning what it meant to help a truly peaceful species recover from war. She walked through the capital city with Dr. Susan Wells, coordinating relief efforts for the survivors. The Kethani had never seen soldiers like Linda's Marines. These humans carried weapons that could level buildings, but they used their hands to help injured civilians and rebuild damaged homes. They shared their food with hungry families and worked 20-hour days to restore power and water to the cities. Major Harper, said Elder Melfani, the leader of the Kethani government, your people confuse us. You fight like demons in battle, but you care for our wounded like they were your own children. Linda smiled as she watched one of her sergeants teaching Kethani children how to play a human card game. Elder, where we come from, protecting people is why we learned to fight in the first place. We didn't become soldiers to hurt others. We became soldiers to stop those who would. Dr. Wells was studying Kethani technology and culture. What she found amazed her. These people had solved problems the humans were still working on. Their medicine could heal injuries in days that would take humans weeks to recover from. Their engineering created buildings that could last for thousands of years. They're incredibly advanced in some ways, Susan reported to Major Harper. But they have no concept of military strategy. The idea of deliberately hurting someone is so foreign to them that they can't even plan for it. Linda looked out at the beautiful city around them. Even damaged by the Vorth attack, it was the most peaceful place she had ever seen. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, Doctor. Maybe the galaxy needs people like them to remind the rest of us what we're fighting for. But while the humans helped the Kethani rebuild, disturbing news was coming from Vorth space. The 3 ships that had escaped the battle had reached there, homeworld, and delivered their report to the Vorth High Command. Admiral Gorthtan stood before the Vorth Emperor in the great throne room of their capital city. His uniform was torn and burned from the battle. His pride was shattered even worse than his clothes. Explain to me how 47 ships lost to 12, the Emperor growled. His voice echoed off the metal walls like thunder. Your Majesty, these humans are unlike anything we have ever encountered, Gorthtan said. They fight with a combination of advanced technology and primitive savagery. Their weapons are designed to cause maximum damage. Their ships are built to survive anything we can throw at them. Are you telling me that prey animals from a backwater world defeated the might of the Vorth hegemony? Gorthtan shook his head. No, Your Majesty. These are not prey animals. They are apex predators from a world so dangerous that it made them into perfect killing machines. And worse, they choose to protect others instead of conquering them. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. The Vorth had built their empire on the simple principle that the strong ruled the weak. The idea of powerful beings choosing to protect weaker ones went against everything they believed. Gather every ship we have, the Emperor finally ordered. 300 vessels, the largest fleet in our history. We will crush these humans and show the galaxy that the Vorth still rule the stars. But back on Earth, General Ron Phillips was not waiting for the Vorth to make the first move. He stood in the command center deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by screens showing ship movements throughout human space. Admiral Stone, how long until the second fleet is ready? He asked. Admiral Carol Stone appeared on the main screen. She was aboard her flagship at the Luna shipyards, where humanity's newest warships were being prepared for battle. 72 hours, General. 50 ships, all equipped with our latest weapons and shields. We've learned a lot from the first battle. Phillips nodded. The Vorth won't make the same mistakes twice. They'll come with everything they have. Good, Stone replied. It's time they learned that humans don't just fight to win battles. We fight to end wars. Colonel Frank Turner, Stone's chief strategist, joined the conversation. "General, I've been studying every piece of intelligence we have on the Vorth. Their biggest weakness is that they've never had to think defensively. For 600 years, they've only attacked. They don't know how to protect themselves when someone hits back. What's your recommendation, Colonel?" Frank smiled. "We don't wait for them to attack the Kethani again. We take the war to them. Hit their supply bases, their shipyards, their command centers. Show the galaxy that the age of Vorth expansion is over." Phillips considered this. It was a dangerous plan. If it failed, Earth would be exposed to Vorth retaliation. But if it succeeded, it would free dozens of enslaved species and establish humanity as the galaxy's new protector. Do it, he decided. Send Admiral Stone to the Vorth frontier. It's time to show them what happens when you threaten people under human protection. Across the galaxy, other species were watching and making their own decisions. The Corvin Trade Federation sent secret messages to Earth, offering to share intelligence about Vorth ship movements. The Thylorian Science Collective requested permission to study human military tactics. Even the proud Hegemony Defense Corps admitted they could learn from human combat methods. But it was the message from the Kethani that meant the most to humanity. Elder Melthani's words were broadcast to every human ship and station. "People of Earth, you came to us as strangers and fought for us like we were family. You asked for nothing in return except the chance to help. Today, the Kethani formally request to join the Human Alliance. We offer our technology, our knowledge, and our friendship to those who showed us that strength and kindness can exist together." General Phillips read the message in his command center and felt a pride he had never experienced before. Humanity had reached for the stars, hoping to find friends. Instead, they had found people who needed protection. And in protecting others, they had found their true purpose in the galaxy. The second battle was coming. The Vorth were gathering their strength for one final massive assault. But this time, they would not be facing just 12 human ships. They would be facing an alliance of species united under the protection of the Deathworlders, who chose to be guardians instead of conquerors. Admiral Carol Stone stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched 300 Vorth warships drop out of hyperspace. The enemy fleet was massive, stretching across space like a metal storm cloud. Each ship was a deadly weapon designed to destroy worlds and enslave entire species. But Admiral Stone was not afraid. Behind her, 50 human warships waited in perfect formation. These were not the same ships that had fought the first battle. These were newer, stronger, and built with everything humanity had learned about fighting the Vorth. "Admiral, there, trying to contact us," reported Communications Officer Jenny Walsh. "Put them on screen," Stone ordered. The face of Admiral Gorthan appeared on the main display. The Vorth commander looked older and angrier than before. His eyes burned with hatred for the species that had humiliated him. "Humans," he snarled, "you made a mistake when you interfered with Vorth business. Today we bring the full might of our empire to crush you. Surrender now, and we'll make your deaths quick." Stone stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. "Admiral Gorthan, you're about to learn why Earth is called a death world, and why that makes us the worst enemy you could possibly face." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "All ships, execute Plan Omega. Show them what humans do when we stop playing games." The human fleet split into 5 groups and moved in different directions. The Vorth had expected a traditional battle where both sides lined up and shot at each other. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. Captain Tony Morgan commanded the heavy cruiser Un's Retribution. His ship led the first attack group straight toward the Vorth center. The enemy concentrated their fire on his vessel, expecting to destroy it quickly and break human morale. All power to forward shields, Tony ordered. Take us right through. Their line. The Retribution absorbed hit after hit from Vorth weapons. Her armor glowed red-hot from the energy blasts. Her shields flickered and sparked as they deflected missiles. But the ship kept moving forward, her own guns returning fire with devastating accuracy. "How is that ship still flying?" demanded the Vorth tactical officer aboard their flagship. "Human. Ships are built differently," Admiral Gorthtan replied grimly. "Every system has multiple backups. They design everything to survive damage that would destroy our vessels." But surviving was only part of the human plan. While the Vorth focused on the Retribution, the other 4 human groups attacked from unexpected angles. Squadron leader Amy Brooks led her fighters in a high-speed assault on the Vorth rear guard. Her pilots moved like sharks through water, striking and disappearing before the enemy could respond. "Fox Squadron, target their engine sections," Amy ordered over the radio. "Cripple them so they can't run when this is over." The human fighters carried new weapons designed specifically to fight the Vorth. Their missiles could penetrate alien. Armor and their energy beams could cut through the strongest shields. But more importantly, the pilots knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage. On the surface of Cathani Prime, Colonel Sam Rodriguez watched the battle through his command post monitors. His Marines were ready for the second part of the plan. When the Vorth tried to land ground troops, they would find an enemy they were not prepared for. "Sir, Vorth landing ships are breaking away from the main fleet," reported Sergeant Bill Mason. "Looks like they're planning to take hostages." Sam smiled grimly. "Let them come, Sergeant. It's time these lizards learned what human ground combat looks like." The Vorth landing craft descended toward the planet's surface like falling meteors. Inside each ship, alien soldiers prepared to terrorize the peaceful Cathani population. They had done this hundreds of times before on dozens of worlds. It should have been easy, but when the first landing ship touched down, it was met by human Marines who had been waiting in carefully prepared positions. The Vorth soldiers found themselves fighting in terrain they did not understand against enemies who used every advantage the environment could provide. "Contact front," shouted Corporal Mike Davis as Vorth troops poured out of their landing craft. "Light them up." The human weapons were designed for maximum lethality. Unlike the Cathani, who built tools to disable and capture, humans built guns to kill quickly and efficiently. The Vorth soldiers, used to fighting enemies who tried to minimize casualties, were unprepared for the brutal effectiveness of human military equipment. But the real shock came when the Vorth tried to use their standard ground tactics. They were bigger and stronger than humans, so they expected to win through brute force. Instead, they found themselves fighting enemies who turned their own strength against them. Sergeant Lisa Parker led her squad through the ruins of a bombed building, using the rubble for cover as they hunted Vorth soldiers. When they encountered a group of aliens 3 times their size, Lisa did not retreat. Instead, she used human tactics that the Vorth had never seen before. "Grenades now," she ordered. The explosions did not just damage the enemy soldiers. They brought down part of the building, trapping the Vorth under tons of debris. The humans then moved in to finish off any survivors, using the chaos and confusion. To their advantage. In space, the main battle was reaching its climax. Admiral Stone's flagship engaged the Vorth command vessel in single combat, while the rest of both fleets fought around them. The alien ship was larger and more heavily armed, but Stone had advantages the Vorth commander could not match. "Target their command center," she ordered her weapons officer. "Let's end this quickly." The human ship fired a spread of kinetic missiles at point-blank range. The projectiles, moving at incredible speed, punched through the Vorth armor like it was made of paper. The enemy flagship's bridge exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Gorthtan died, still not understanding how his superior technology had been defeated by primitive Deathworlders. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Vorth fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single enemy ship escaped to carry word back to their empire. 300 vessels that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were now floating debris. But more importantly, the galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented. Dozens of species had watched the battle through Kethani broadcasts. They had seen a small human fleet defeat an enemy that had seemed invincible. Dr. Lisa Carter, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, received messages from across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved by the Vorth for generations were rising up against their oppressors. Others were requesting human protection from similar threats. Admiral Stone, she reported over the communication link, we're receiving surrender requests from 47 Vorth colonies. They want to join the Human Alliance for protection against their own empire. Stone looked out at the wreckage of the enemy fleet. Somewhere in that debris were the dreams of conquest that had driven the Vorth for 600 years. Those dreams were dead now, killed by beings from a world the aliens had thought was too dangerous to support intelligent life. Accept their surrender, she decided, but make it clear that joining our alliance means protecting others, not conquering them. 6 months later, Captain Hellenberg stood in the newly built human embassy on the Galactic Council homeworld. Through the windows, she could see ships from dozens of species flying together in formation. Human vessels flew alongside Kithani traders, Centauri science ships, and even reformed Vorth patrol craft. The galaxy had learned a hard truth. Sometimes the most dangerous beings were exactly what civilization needed to survive. The predators. From Earth had proven that strength without wisdom was just bullying, but strength with compassion could protect everyone. Elder Melthani of the Kethani joined Burke at the window. Captain, our children are learning human languages in school. Now, they want to understand the people who saved us. Burke smiled. Elder, our children are learning about Kethani art and philosophy. They want to understand what we're protecting. Outside, the stars shone down on a galaxy that was finally at peace. The age of easy conquest was over. The Deathworlders had answered the call, and they had chosen to be guardians instead of destroyers. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as the protectors who ensured that the strong defended the weak. And the galaxy would never be the same.